us here on John Deere wanted to nominate Randy. That really tells the tale, right? Like he was in control. He was safe. He was, he was driving, to the conditions of the road, and he drove that truck out of after it was all said and done, it was 170 trucks and cars in this accident. It was in Kalamazoo. You can go on YouTube and see it. But that pretty much summarizes how we feel, or how I feel. I know John feels the same way. And
193.
We're really privileged to have drivers like Randy. And he comes from a family that started in the trucking business in the 50s. So it's passed down. But the best part of it all is he's got that attitude from the drivers of the 50s. His grandfather drove, had his own trucking company, and then his dad, who was a senior driver for John Deere, they instilled this in him. And so I don't really have to say too much more than that because we really think highly of him. So that's all I can tell you about that. Do you have anything to say, John?
I just add a little bit to that. When companies have private fleets and companies that are perceived to have deeper pockets have private fleets, one of the key elements of managing that is managing risk. Anybody with a trucking company or transportation company has exposure to the public. Risk is always a considerable factor in that. And you always think about what we have right now with the Deere fleets, probably 170 drivers, 180 drivers on the road at any given time with 110 power units. And I think collectively we cover about 21, 22 million miles a year. And so you see a lot of opportunity for risk. And you see some video of FedEx just last week where they had road rage with a school bus and a FedEx tractor trailer. You just never want to see that kind of a YouTube video with John Deere on it, in my case. But an accident like this with 193 trucks, Randy in the middle, but a lot of the drivers and occupants of vehicles were taken off to a secondary site while the traffic jam and all that stuff was untangled. A lot of press there, and I just wanted to have it ready, but again, just for the benefit of this group, commend Randy. He had all this data, had all this video, and didn't stand looking for ABC and CBS and all that news to say, hi, I'm Randy Packham, look what I got. Just kind of pulled off to the side and let things unfold and kept quiet, which is, to me, also a key element of professionalism. Most professionals in whatever industry they're in usually aren't running to the front of the stage and jumping on a Diaz and calling attention to themselves. And so from a John Deere perspective, a risk management perspective, Randy's actions of just pulling back, contacting the right people, letting us know what he had in terms of video information, being very frank and succinct and not adding to it or editing or anything like that is incredibly valuable to us. And from that standpoint, from a Deere perspective, we really support this chapter giving Randy the award. He's very deserving of it. And for the people that you have working for you in your safety meetings, it's a key component to remind people of that risk management and being professional in all aspects is very important.
Maybe Randy could join us up here. Come and visit. And
Don't sit on this.
first thing, fantastic. Look at this mountain rescue. Expedition Everest. He's got big dreams, this fellow. I want to tell you about this award, and this is the thing we're talking about here. He's back here. A number of years ago, we as a chapter decided to honor a safe driver of the year. And at the time, we had just lost a fellow member. Richard Gremick was his name. And Rick, I'll just tell you a little bit about him and about this trophy. He was born 19th of December 44 and he died 30th of May 2000. He was a leader in the transportation safety field, having extensive experience as a commercial driver and entrepreneur. Rick demonstrated leadership when his driver service company was among the very first to mandate driver road testing. Expanding on his findings, Rick began to develop his own basis for training. During the early stages of governmental recognition of the need for dangerous goods and hours of work scrutiny, Rick was again a leader. He was already equipped with his own courses in the transportation of dangerous goods, hours of service, and logbooks, which nobody had heard of before that. Rick was a critical voice in the early days of George Brown College's driver training program, the accepted standard in the province at the time. Through his criticism, Rick was challenged to come up with something better, which he did. And Rick Gremick developed the commercial driver course, which became the new standard at George Brown College. In conjunction with George Brown and CEDA, the Canadian International Development Agency, Rick again took a world leadership role by traveling to the developing African country of Zimbabwe to train new people in his methods over there. I remember him telling us the only problem he had was that they were all drunk when they came to work. His inception of his outfit called the Canadian Transportation Training Institute, along with his part in developing the now famous Avoid, V-Comply, and D-Comply programs that I guess nobody really uses anymore, but they were the initial programs, again put him ahead of the masses. Rick's constant goal of creating better drivers so that all road users would be safer enlarged in scope, and his vision is a collective goal of today's best driver trainers. Richard Gremick was a remarkable promoter of safety and safe driving techniques, and is sadly missed by those of us fortunate enough to have known, felt his encouragement, and followed his examples. So, that's Rick. I want to talk to you now about Randy, because the Richard Gremick Memorial Safe Driver of the Year Award goes to a deserving driver who has been nominated by the Hamilton Niagara chapter member, which is Charlie, because of an outstanding contribution to safe driving. His or her employer, obviously felt here, and the general public, as in safer roads and any other criteria that enhances the person's contribution in voluntary work, bravery, or other benefits of society. Randy Packham here is employed by Huron Services Group, part of the CPC Logistics Group of companies, and he is assigned as a driver to the John Deere private fleet. His driving range is long haul, North America. You don't go south of that, do you? No. Don't cross the Panama Canal. Don't have a ship's license or anything. So he was nominated by Charlie Shields and is being honored for his heroic efforts and safety professionalism as a driver. In 12 years, Randy has logged over 2 million preventable collision-free miles, and in particular, helped to shield motorists in a giant I-94 crash on January the 9th, 2015, involving over 193 vehicles, and 73 of those were tractor trailers, and there were also 119 cars. The cleanup of this massive crash site lasted 2 days. No wonder he stood in the background. Although Randy was in the middle of the crash, he managed to stop his vehicle without a preventable incident. He sheltered other crash victims with his truck and later on in his cab, and he was still able to drive away from the crash scene. This summer, Randy was also recognized by his employer as Driver of the Year. It is my honor to present Randy Packham with this year's award. And the award is actually this great big thing here, which if you look on the right-hand corner of it, you'll see your name. Now, you're never going to see this thing again because Charlie's going to keep this. Charlie's going to keep this in his office. So each time you come in to get a paycheck, you can look at your own name on that. But that's as close as you're going to get. There you go. Hold it. You got a picture of that?
Bye.